All right. Yep. We are here. We're live. First time in a little bit here. I just noticed that it still says Craig Walker. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it today, but we do have the amazing and very courageous Chasity with us here. I'm very, very excited to have her on. First time guest on the show, True TV. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. A little nervous, but excited. I have a lot to say.
You're going to be great. You're going to be great. And thank you for all the viewers who are here today. Like I said, it's been a minute. We've had a couple premieres that we showed while I was out of town, and now we're finally back and going strong. For some of you who don't know, they demonetized my channel. I'm not going to say what I think about that. And they actually sent emails, Chasity, to every person who is, at least I had like 100 people who sent me copies of the emails they got from either subscribers or members who were like, oh, basically YouTube said that your YouTube was in question and that you were probably going to be taken down and blah, 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 and really just scared everybody. And some people were like, well, I don't want to be showing that I'm following you in case that like gets me in trouble and stuff like that. So anyway, a lot of people dropped. I'm at 65 members dropped.
Wow.
Actually it ended up being 71 members dropped, but initially 65 members dropped. And anyway, I did an appeal to prove that I am me.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were saying. Well, you're not you, and you're just using other people's content and all of this stuff. So I had to like get out my phone, show all my videos that were actually on my phone, and show my StreamYard YouTubes. Have my editor, who's just a mom that I love, who's very talented, that helps me very generously for only $100 a month, which is ridiculous to do all those videos for $100 a month. I want to give her more money. But she had to show and prove that she was anyway, but they took back, they reviewed it and they gave me my monetization back, but that doesn't change my members. So if you're out there watching and you used to be a member, you can still be a member. You can come back. I'm not scary. I'm really healing. I'm not doing anything wrong.
You're telling the truth. That's what.
Yikes. So yeah, and I want to be able to pay these ladies who do my graphics so beautifully and really, really give a lot of their time, not counting like the time that Craig and I put into doing this. You're doing a podcast now. You know how much work it is, like editing and uploading and doing graphics, and like I have 4 other jobs. So doing this is, anyway, we're going to talk about something really, really interesting today that is near and dear to my heart: addictions.
Yeah.
There are so many different types of addictions. So I'm going to be really clear. You know, of course, there's like anorexia and, you know, alcoholism. There's street drugs. There's prescription drugs. There's over-the-counter drugs. You can have addictions to mindsets. You could be a shopaholic. But we're going to talk specifically about opiates and some of the harder drugs that are prescribed pretty easily in the field of medicine, and how that affects people. And I know there's been a lot of documentaries here, I think in the last year or so, whether it's Netflix or Prime. I'm trying to remember the names of them.
Painkiller and the pharmacist, kind of honing in on the opioid epidemic and what that looked like, and the way that they marketed Oxycontin and oxycodone was absolutely disgusting.
Yep. And, you know, I have been through my own roller coaster of addictions. I had 17 years of an eating disorder, which I don't talk a lot about. Maybe one day I will. And when I had a pregnancy, one of my pregnancies, they missed with the epidural. I wasn't walking. They told me I would never walk again. And they got me hooked on opiates. It was the absolute worst ever thing to try to get off of. So I can totally, I'm going to cry, but I could totally relate to just the average Joe who gets in a car accident or you know, or even just has a back pain. I mean, do you know how many people just go in and go, oh, my back hurts?
Yeah.
And they just go, blah, 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 give it to the person. I mean, I had a police officer contact me, and a friend of mine had went in to get his back checked because he was having some problems. And I said, well, let me give you a scan. Oh, I already went to the doctor. And so what did the doctor say? It's like, oh, well, they're going to give me the result, you know, whatever. So I came home, called to check on the guy, and he was like, basically they sent me home with opiates.
Of
And
course they did.
I said, well, what's wrong though? Did they do an x-ray? You know, no, none of that. Just literally saw him for 5 minutes, never asked too much about anything, and then sent him home. And I'm like, well, you're not going to take it, are you? You know, pretty much every surgery, that's what they're doing when they send you home.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the prescription runs out. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your journey, because I think a lot of people are suffering silently.
They are.
They're stuck. They don't know what to do. They're embarrassed to talk about it, which I get. I mean, who wants to say that they're willing to be a prostitute so they can get stuff off the street to equal out, or worse than that, go to heroin, which a lot of them will do because that's more easily found than sometimes.
Most people's heroin addiction did start in a doctor's office. That's where it started because with my own personal experience, you know, I experienced a lot of pain and trauma at a young age, and I didn't know how to cope with that. And so I partied a lot, but my addiction didn't start. My addiction did not start until the doctor's office because I partied a lot. I mean, I did X, I partied, I mean, just your typical, but I did not get hooked until I had my son and they prescribed me Vicodin. And when I was prescribed, I mean, I had a C-section. So I mean, oh, I take this Vicodin, I'm feeling good. I can clean my house, I can take care of my kid, and I'm numbing my pain. Come on. I mean, I found it is how I felt, you know, and it's been 20 years. It started with one prescription of Vicodin, and that just, I mean, and then there were pill mills, you get hooked, your body gets hooked, and it's hard to come off of. Then they put me on Suboxone. Because one Suboxone versus, you know, 10 Vicodin seemed like it made a lot more sense, right? But that's just it. The Suboxone, you will get stuck. There are so many people right now that are stuck on it, that are reaching. I had one girl reach out to me yesterday and she's like, my doctor's trying to put me on Suboxone and take me off of Percocet. And she's like, I don't know what to do. What should I do? Right. And I'm like, I encourage you not to take the Suboxone. If you can wing down and wing off of the Percocet, please do that, you know, because you don't need to substitute one for the other. I'm not saying that it hasn't served and helped people, you know, but from my understanding, I've heard of some people that have come off of heroin and it was easier to come off of than Suboxone.
Yeah, and even Creighton, is it Creighton?
Kratom.
Kratom. That's a biggie too. Like
Yeah.
huge.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
And people are told, oh, it's natural and oh this, but it's just as hard to get off.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I started to use Kratom once I came off of Suboxone. So 6 months ago, so I was on Ambien, Xanax, Adderall, and Suboxone. I was on all those medications because I had all at once. Yeah. And because I had went through chemotherapy, that they gave them, you know, a reason to continue to prescribe that to me. And so one day I just decided I was just going to stop taking. I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, I'm taking Adderall and then I'm taking Xanax. And I'm like, this is crazy. What am I doing? I got to stop doing this. This is just insane. And so I came off of all of it. I stopped all of it, but I was bound to my bed. I couldn't move. I mean, I had been on this stuff for over 15 years. So I had to go back on Suboxone.
Wait. So they were giving you this without question. Anytime you needed a refill, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years later, without like asking you anything, or they're just like, oh, you go in for a refill and like, here you go, here you go? Is that like, walk me through that?
Okay. So, for a long time, I was able to get it off the streets myself. But as somebody in this mindset, you learn how to kind of work it in your favor, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, for the last 5 years, he did prescribe me Ambien, Adderall, Xanax, and Suboxone. It was just one doctor, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you're asking me. I'm sorry. I just got really nervous. I don't know why.
No, I'm just saying, like, a lot of these are timed type prescriptions where it says, don't be on this more than 2 months or 2 weeks or 1 year, unless it's like a birth control, which is also terrible. But I'm just saying, not terrible to try to not to get pregnant if you don't want to get pregnant. But I'm just saying side effects are crazy. But what I wonder, like, did you have to come up with a new story to keep getting on it? Or was it just the old thing from 15 years ago and they're still giving it to you for 15 years later?
So no, it was just different doctors. It was different doctors that I was seeing. And I mean, I went through a lot. I mean, my car caught on fire. I had flipped cars. I had been through chemotherapy and cancer. I just had, my mom fell 60 feet. So, I mean, I had all these things that were occurring in my life that I could.
They're like, hey, I need this because I'm not sleeping or I'm stressed or whatever. Right. And you just kind of work it out.
Right.
But they weren't able to see like your records of like, oh, she's been on this since like 1982,
Yeah. Yeah, right. No, they don't care. Okay. They definitely don't care. So.
Okay. Well, anyway, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm trying to sort out exactly what it is that I want everybody to understand here. Sometimes people just don't have the coping mechanisms that it takes and they're dealing with trauma. For me, I went through a lot. I went through a lot as a young kid and I didn't know how to work through that. And so, and it just so happened at that time that I was going through a lot, they were handing this medication out like nobody's business. I mean, there were pill mills and you didn't even need an x-ray. You just told them, oh, your neck hurts, your back hurts. Okay, bring an x-ray. Next time they're handing you, 120 Vicodin, 120 Somas, 60 Xanax, and you can do this. People were bringing their friends, like, I'll pay for this guy and this, like, people would come in like groups of fives and the doctor, it was very clear what was going on. It was very clear because these pill mills were popped up all over Houston. And that's where I'm born and raised.
That's scary to all. That literally, they showed that kind of stuff in the movie. Yeah. So obviously they must have got it from somewhere, but coming from the other side as a naturopath, I get patients who come in and one of the things that they got to fill out, their waiver, their intro, whatever, is like, what medicines are you on? Mm-hmm. And I could have someone come in and have like 15 medicines they're on. And I'm like, now, why are you, I'll go through each one. Now, why are you on this one? Why are you on this one? And half the time, I shit you not, they'll literally look at me and go, I don't know. I've been taking it for 10 years, or mm-hmm. I'm not sure. And most of them for me, I was on 33 meds at once as well. So no judgment. Right. And I had a small suitcase that I traveled with when I did conference speaking with a map inside to explain to me, take this with water. This can't go with that. That goes in the afternoon. This goes with food. This goes in. It was like mental gymnastics to even keep up with the craziness but most of it started because I took this one thing that gave me side effects. That needed this to counteract that. This needed this to counteract those. And like, it just kept going.
Right. And, that's interesting. You're bringing that up, right? So I'm still dealing with this. I can sit here today and tell you, Dr. Sharnael, and it's been a 6-month battle since December is when I came off of Suboxone. I've been 2 weeks now and haven't needed kratom, haven't needed anything. I'm not sweating out my armpits anymore. I'm feeling really good. And it's been 20 years. It's a big fight. It's a big, long fight. But I will tell you, I forgot where I was going with that because I got so passionate about that fight.
That's okay. Look, you're just saying it's a big fight. You were on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I battled this with my mom. So they were prescribing my mom well over 120 oxycodone because my mother fell 60 feet over a balcony 10 years ago, and she's a paraplegic. So they had her on every medication you could possibly think about. And every time we would go into that doctor's office, we would ask if we could try to get her off of it. What would be the process? Because you can't just come off of these opiates. And every single time she would not do anything about it. We were dealing with overdoses, and they still wouldn't take her off of it. I mean, Ambien is the reason that she fell over the balcony, and the doctor still had her on Ambien. I mean, it's the minute that they took away, and I told her she's not able to go to the bathroom. Like, we've got all these problems that are happening. The minute that they took away the oxycodone, everything started leveling out. She started being able to go to the bathroom again, everything. And I'm like, we're so programmed to think that we need these medications because we are in pain. We don't. We really, really don't. I have a mother that deals with severe, severe pain, and I am here to tell you that I've seen her off and on the pills, and we're going to do way better without it all. I called the doctors on Sunday and let them have it, because this last time they gave her Valium, I had nothing to do with it. I let the caretaker step in and deal with that. And I was like, okay, y'all want to try the Valium? Go for it. We ran into the same problem. We're over medicating because we're dealing with a lot of pain. So I called the doctor, and I kind of maybe overreacted and cursed him out a little bit. Said not to prescribe my mother another narcotic ever again.
Yeah, a lot of people here are saying, God, congratulations, cheering you on. I'm cheering you on, and I'm cheering on everybody here who's went through apparently similar things. This lady's saying that her daughter is 21 and she's been an advocate for herself, which is rare in this time. And I agree with that. My daughter, believe it or not, my kids just probably think I'm a little bit cuckoo. And now that my oldest has had a baby and is going through her own things, I could tell her blah, 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 blah all day long. And then she's like, okay, Mom. And then now she's the one coming back and going, did you know that birth control, la, 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 la. And she gave me some stats here recently. And I'm just going to share this because I think this is a big deal. You may not even know this, but birth control, they did a study on birth control. And if a woman gets put on birth control, they did one case study of people on birth control and one group not on birth control. They sat them in a room and showed slides of men and women, and they were hooked up to all these machines that would test, heart rate, blood pressure, galvanic response, la, 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 la. And the people who were on birth control had zero libido, by the way, and were mostly attracted to the same sex and or very female type men. And if they were, men aren't on birth control, but they are. But females were attracted to very like metro men. Wow. and or women, and extremely confused, just like the whole study where frogs started doing things, which I think if you guys want to look up frogs that started growing different parts and getting boobs and whatever new genital and stuff like that from being on harmful chemicals. But the people not on birth control were the women not on birth control were like every guy that was masculine. It was like, yay, we're on. This is like, woohoo. So, and my daughter like was the one who found this, and she was telling me, she was like, did you know that, they're basically entraining us to either not have any reproduction at all, in whatever form, whether it's because you're now same sex and having to figure out creative ways to do whatever, or you're just not having sex to procreate. But she was also, these women are having like major side effects with stuff besides all those things, like physical side effects, like clots and tumors and estrogen, off the roof that gives, I mean, if you look at it, it's cancer causing big time.
Yeah. I
But
could never take birth control. I turned into a complete lunatic and I was already crazy.
you? Oh, so strange. No,
we didn't need to add on to that.
yeah, no, I get it. And I couldn't ever be on it either. Maybe TMI, but I just was having a lot of issues. None of the ones that were suggested, but like really bad problems that were physically painful and harmful, and just I was not in my mood. My gosh, like super depressed, and so, but yeah, I mean, these
That's
stores
wild.
for, I don't know anything about this Kratom thing, or am I saying it right?
Kratom. Mm-hmm.
Kratom, but these stores are popping up everywhere, and it seems because it is street available. It seems like a lot of people are turning to that and thinking that, well, if it's over the counter, it must be fine. You don't have to have a prescription, blah, blah, blah. But go into that a little bit. Explain it more, but just for me, because I really want to know.
No, yeah. So when you come off this stuff, I'm glad you're bringing this up because everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? But when you are coming off this stuff, you feel like dog shit. I mean, your body, you're hot and cold. It's like having the flu. You just feel awful and you're tired. You're just so. Kratom is, I guess, a bit like of an opiate that can kind of help ease that process, but it's highly, highly addicting. It's just as addicting, if not more addicting, than the Suboxone or any of the other pain pills. And so I was kind of using it like just to kind of give me a little break from time to time. I mean, even Dr. Sharnael, sometimes there were times that I would take one of my mom's pain pills because it's just that horrendous. You get so tired of feeling like shit all the time, and there were a few times that because we had to move and we had to do all this, and I just was taking on so much that I caught myself over taking the kratom, because even a few times when I picked up that bottle to take it while I was moving, my ear, bing, like ringing in my ear. And I was like, okay, I got it. Like put it back down. So, I would encourage a person. I mean, everybody's going to have to take, until I can find a solution to this problem, because I'm going to find a solution to this problem. Everybody's just going to have to do their own, have their own journey. And for me, I am not in the headspace of where I am wanting to be in a different, I don't want to be in a different headspace. I'm healed. I don't want to numb anymore, but my body was feeling like shit. And that was the only reason that I was still on this. And so I would take kratom from time to time just to kind of help me ease that process, because this took me 6 months to get off of. And I've only been 2 weeks completely off of anything and everything. But I will tell you, I sit here today and I am free and clear of everything, but I still notice like a struggle with just being, you know what I mean? Like I want a coffee, or I quit vaping a long time ago and I suddenly want to hit a vape. Like it's just that programming. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, not to feel, right? I mean, just not to have to feel the feelings. And they always say, like, you got to feel it to heal it. And, when we suppress, depress, oppress, it just goes down in the body, and there will be symptoms in the physical body somewhere along the line if they're not dealt with. And I think a lot of it has to do with sleep too. I don't think people are sleeping very well. And we defrag between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And if we're not sleeping, a lot of the trauma that builds up through the day doesn't actually release during that 3 a.m., 5 a.m. if we're up. And a lot of people are up during that time because that's when the liver starts to clear. And if your liver is like, toxic and contaminated by all these things, it tries to like work extra hard during that time, which wakes us up. And then we don't have good sleep, and we're not regulated, and we're not releasing HGH to heal. We're not getting that delta alpha, the delta wave, where we're actually really replenishing our body and what have you. And then people get, oh, well, I'll just take Tylenol PM, or I'll Benadryl, or I'll take pain medicine to go to sleep, or I'll drink to go to sleep, or, those things. Well, those things are very habit forming. Right. Yeah. So then if you try to get off, you can't sleep for 3 days. And, by the second and a half day, you're like, oh my God, just give me anything to sleep, you know, and you go back to that pattern. And same thing with getting off opiates. The pain was worse getting off than actually the pain in the beginning for me. And yes, all the sweating and just the agony of just thinking, is this how I'm going to have to live life now? Of this level of nerve pain, this level of, you know, just this is not how anyone should have to live. But if you can get past that hump, you know, and that's what I want to ask you is like, what was number one, what was the catalyst that you're like, that's it, I got to get off? Like, you know, something's got to change. And then the second question, how did you do it? How are you doing it? What are you doing to on this journey that you can give people who are watching, who are silently going through this, and going like, hey, and if you have already went through it, as many of you have, I would love your feedback. What did you guys do to get off? Like, how are you changing the mechanisms to cope, like, and to actually detox? But tell me, what was your breaking point?
So you would think that, I mean, after all the accidents and everything that I had gotten into, you would think that it was an awakening. It was, I just say it was a bit of a spiritual assistance, I guess, if you will, because I mean, I just woke up one day. I had such an appreciation for life that like I went to go smush this bug. And I couldn't, something screamed at me. I just absolutely could not smush that bug. And then I was real confused and like try to get like a box, and I was going to like drop the box on the bug. I just started having a real appreciation with life. And there was just this big shift. And I just knew, what was I doing? I needed to do something different. But there was a lot that needed to be undone. And it's taken a long time. I mean, I've been in hermit mode since like 2018, you know, that's a long time. And so one thing I can tell you, I started meditating regularly. Okay. I meditate every single day, and I made sure that I put an hour aside every day, and it was like my soul just kind of knew what to do. It just kind of took the wheel and knew what to do. You know, I see a lot of people go to AA, and different strokes for different folks, but meditating truly helped me. It truly helped me. And so the catalyst was just an awakening, you know, questioning my reality, questioning what the hell am I here? What am I doing? What, like, I mean, 20 years of just darkness. I mean, it just swallowed me whole. And changing is not always easy, because when you are changing, and people are still making their little comments and remarks like, oh, sure you are, you know, it's hard. It's very hard. You have to really dig deep. You have to just forget about what everybody says and thinks. You don't give a shit. I didn't give a shit. You know, and meditating kind of helped me get to the core of who I am and the core of my soul. And what am I doing to maintain? So it's funny, right? I started putting myself out there, and I had no idea why. Like, I just felt compelled to put myself out there. I knew I was still on the Suboxone, and I wanted to get off of it because I was having to go to this clinic and deal with this version that it was not me anymore. I had to let go, but I knew it was going to be a fight. And so I made the jump, and I've been fortunate to be able to do it while I care for my mom. And so I decided, when I started mentioning Suboxone, I started getting messages from people in our community. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm just going to record myself, because that'll be another way to hold my own self accountable, because it's not going to be easy. And so far, you know, I have not been successful in doing it. I mean, I would go to rehab and come out and hate the way I felt, like such shit. I'd pick right back up, you know? So putting myself out there,
that's some accountability, right? I mean, because everyone's watching and everyone's like, I mean, I've done that with weight loss. I've done that with cleaning my house. You know, it's like, look, here's my garage. I'm going to text you in 2 days. And then it's like, now everyone's waiting, and you got to do something. You know? once you go public, it's like, wow, okay, shit. Now I got to
not really gonna do it,
you know, or I guess some people don't, and they don't have to, but I love that you were so courageous to really put yourself on the line like that, because some people just would never go public. And especially, I think a lot of people are really quick to talk about it after they've fully recovered and they're good and they're like, oh yeah, that was a really hard time. But to be in it and be in the middle of it and still be, you're helping so many people to be honest with themselves
Yeah.
and to maybe take that journey with you and to kind of take on your tips. And like, like you said, you're having all these secret like messages going on with people who aren't doing what you're doing public, who aren't, being a face with what's happening. And,
Yeah.
you know, um, maybe they couldn't do it, but they're doing it through you and with you. And that's why I wanted to have
Yeah.
you on, because I was like, how many millions of people, I mean, do you know that addictions have went up 300%
I
in the
believe it.
last 4 years?
I
And
believe it.
and that's probably a low number. And then suicide has went up because of people can't even get off the addictions. But a lot of this stemmed from the thing that happened in 2020, when all of this mess started, is people just felt so isolated and alone. And talk about friends though too, because yes, accountability, and you talked about AA, but how important are the people that you surround yourself with in the middle of all this?
I'm very fortunate to be able to have created a beautiful community online. And just because most of the time I'm by myself. I just kind of started making friends again, like, out here in Austin and stuff. Like, I just had a lot of healing that needed to occur, but I have developed a pretty strong supportive community online. And I don't think if I wouldn't have had that, I mean, that there were times that I didn't, I was like, no, not today, or, oh, just not feeling myself, or in my ego, not really in my heart. And I would get messages like from, your post really helped me, or your positivity. And I'm like, okay, well then obviously if it's affecting one person, I'm just going to keep doing it. And and that was before I even came off of the Suboxone. Then I just kind of, even when I went to the conference, I had a couple of people come up to me and talk to me about addiction, and somebody in their family or whatever. And I was like, oh, wow, that was powerful. That really, it made me understand that everything that I've experienced in my life and all of the pain that I have swallowed, I've been put on this planet to help a lot of people, because I can stand in the face of pain and be okay. I just found out that I lost my cousin a week ago to addiction, and the way that she lost her battle is just, they don't want to investigate. It's, and I'm like, it's disgusting, because, oh, she's just an addict, so we're just not gonna, we're not gonna look into it. But I understand that that's just more of me serving my purpose. And when I got that news, I was like, oh, I immediately became the observer of it, right? I didn't allow myself to process it. I was like, oh, nope, nope. 2 days later, I'm like bawling my eyes out, and process it. I'm good. It's one good day. So
Well, that's so tough though. It's not easy to see someone that you love, have to go through whatever, whatever addiction it is, and all the way to the end. I mean, there are so many accidental situations like that where, you mentioned, sometimes you would take too much. It's like, I think it, especially if you mix alcohol with the whole thing, which is easy to do in those situations if you're with other people.
mhm.
But you take one, and it messes with your head, and it's like, oh, when did I take the last one? Oh, it must be time. And then
Yeah.
you take another one, and then you have a drink, and next thing you know, you're like, oh well, I might as well take this handful. And like, people are accidentally ODing,
Yeah.
and not just the average Joe, celebrities, lots of different people are having, accidental deaths. And then sometimes actually taking the exact right amount, like right what the bottle says,
Right.
what the doctor said to do is still the wrong thing for someone out there. Because when they do the test trials, they do these test trials on very healthy young men and women
Mhm.
across the board. They don't take like someone who's 75 and 40 pounds overweight. They take and these test studies, they don't really do test studies,
Right, of course.
so they just throw this stuff out. And then if you watch any of the documentaries or you study this, they were going, how can we get more pills into the hands of people for the money? And so let's say maybe they needed it once every 12 hours, and they'd go, well, instead of taking one every 12 hours, let's make it one every 4 hours or every 6 hours, knowing that it was too much, knowing that it was more. And they don't care. They really don't care. And you can't sue them. They've made it where you cannot even sue the pharmaceutical companies for this kind of stuff. They're completely out of all that. So
yeah. Yeah. I find it also interesting, because I also went through chemotherapy. I know I feel like I kind of had to experience that because that was the catalyst to my understanding of what was going on in the medical field. Like I worked as a medical assistant, and I remember there were a few things that I would kind of question. I remember one little girl coming in, and she was not vaccinated. And I mean, they all just looked at her like she was an alien. Like it was just so foreign. And I remember me kind of conforming to that way of thinking, kind of looking back. I remember them doing procedures, and I'm like, geez, these are a lot of surgery. So all these people really need these procedures. Granted, there were a few, but I was noticing people were being operated on that didn't seem like they needed surgery, So I also have had I had breast augmentation, and I've had those removed too. And I feel better than I have ever felt in my entire life. And I forced those suckers. I refused to be flat chested for so long. And it was because I worked, I did Hawaiian tropics. I was in these competitions, so I was comparing myself to these women that were filling out their bathing suits, but I will say taking those out was probably the best thing I could have possibly ever done. It was cycle like this, what it did to my mind was unreal. But how I feel now, they may not be looking that great, but I feel great. So
you look great.
Thank you.
You look great. Yeah. And I don't even know, we haven't talked about this, but I actually had mine out last year. I had mine put in. It's been almost a year exactly to the day that I had them out. I got mine because I had several tumors taken out of my breasts in my early 20s, which when they took them out, they took out like almost everything around it as well. So I went from like a C or whatever to pretty much like a negative A. And then they threw in this, oh, well, we can do insurance will cover reconstruction surgery.
They hit you with that.
Yeah. So I wasn't even gonna have to pay for that stuff, and got them. And then like they ruptured, had some problems, had them replaced instead of taken out. And then it wasn't until this last year that I was having so many problems, just brain fog and mold and parasites, like chronic fatigue, fibro, like all the stuff with that people are finally coming around to getting, connecting the dots on that.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is psychological. And also I'm still detoxing from a year ago from all the stuff that was connected to that. And you hear more and more people having explants. I think that's getting more common for people to kind of just like, hey, you know what, let's just natural and like get everything that isn't supposed to be in my body that's synthetic out, and like let's just
get it out. That's right. You know what? And when I had mine removed, this one kept filling up. My left one kept filling up with fluid. So for a whole year, I was walking around what I called myself a cyclops. I was so discouraged. I mean, I was walking around with like one boob, like it really sucked, but it was almost like what I think I had to experience to embrace what was really going on with me. But that plastic surgeon had left debris inside of me where I had to have surgery again to see why this was filling up with fluid.
Ouch.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
I just wanted to share that.
Well, I don't know who your surgeon is. Mine actually did took out the encasement or whatever. And she went to Yale at 16. She's one of the first people who ever did implants, and like has went to Washington and is against it to like be in trials and different things against it. But it's interesting how I found her. Do you hear that? It's a weird sound. Sorry. How I found her was because if you go online and try and find someone who does explants, a lot of the people who are doing explants, if you look, they're also still doing implants.
Right. So
So
that,
like, they're getting money for taking them in and they're getting money for taking them out. It's kind of like the people who do tattoos and then get them off and tattoos and get off. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to a doctor who's still putting them in if they so believe they're taking them out. And she will not put them in. And so her name's Dr. Fing.
wow.
And she's about this tall and a
Yeah.
little tiny, skinny, cute little natural lady in Ohio. And really, anyway, but I didn't know that you did any kind of Hawaiian tropics. And I didn't know that but that had to be a big mind shift, physically too,
Yeah.
as far as, did you have symptoms? I mean, what was your catalyst for getting them out?
Oh man, just, like I said, I just had this massive spiritual awakening and I just wanted to get back to the core of me. I wanted to just get back. I mean, and they always they never really truly fit that great. You know what I mean? They looked all right under clothes. I just didn't love me. I just didn't love me. I didn't love the way I looked. I wanted to force something that I wasn't for so long. And so I was just done with all that. And they looked ridiculous anyway. I knew it was going to be a psychological thing because you know what I did? I went to get a bra like within the first like month or two. And I remember putting it on and thinking, this is freaking ridiculous. I thought I looked so ridiculous, but it's the mind. I mean, it is your mind because I looked ridiculous before with the implants in.
Well, it's a cultural, they bombard people with so much. That entrainment of entertainment is just so like every magazine. And now they're going to the extreme where they're making obesity completely fine. Like Miss Alabama, who's like 600 pounds or something. And I'm not anti anybody. I love all people. And also to celebrate being unhealthy.
No, it's not. I'm not laughing. I laugh because of what the world stage, what they're doing right now. It's just ridiculous. I just can't. Like, I'm sorry. I just laugh. I think when I'm uncomfortable. I don't know.
Yes. Well, I have worked with some people and I'm really excited with ozone. And I shared with you this privately.
Right.
But, you mentioned the sweating and a lot of the detox places that you go to, they will cause you to sweat on purpose. Because if you could get it out, I mean, your body is trying to get out all this stuff naturally. So if you can like force it out faster by doing saunas and then replacing it with electrolytes, niacin is a big thing. And then ozone. If you could find someone who does ozone anywhere you are, ozone therapy increases ATP, so you have energy again, helps with inflammation, helps with pain, basically restructures your body to be like 17 again, and on that physical level, which changes your emotions and your spirit whenever you can actually feel like doing things and have fun. And it's definitely a mood enhancer. So dopamine and serotonin and all the fun things that help you, but then calm your nervous system by getting you, in parasympathetic. And, but that's what I'm seeing people get help with is sauna, like major detox sauna, which if you're in Houston, you can just go outside, girl. It'd be like,
yeah. I'm in Austin, but yeah.
Yeah. Austin. I was thinking
because I was born and raised in Houston,
okay.
and then I moved here and raised my son. That's why.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So Florida, Louisiana, all these southern states, just go to the mailbox and sweat it out.
Yeah.
Clean your garage or mow your grass, and but unfortunately, some people feel so terrible that they can't even move to do those things. So sitting in a sauna, with some help and maybe a friend, and then make sure you're getting water, electrolytes, because you want to just filter all this out of your cells, out of your blood, out of your organs, and like get replenished and start over. But
So
I
there's
wish you
been a
could
few
hear.
people.
Wish you could come over.
I know. There's been a few people that have reached out to me, and I have asked them, "Have you looked into ozone therapy?" I don't even know, but what I've read and what you've told me, I don't think that's, there's no coincidence. You know what I mean? I believe that was. I feel like it would be helpful. There is a place here in Austin, and it's like a little over an hour away. I need to get down there and give it a try. But what does that look like in terms of is it a pretty costly thing, or?
It depends. Depends on how they're doing it too. If it's IVs, then it's a little more invasive. If it's through like an ear scope, which I would suggest, or a body bag, you just get in the bag, they zip you up, you have like a towel so you're not breathing in anything. That's not invasive at all. Some people are actually doing vaginal and or rectal therapies with it.
That'll get you quick.
Yeah, the vaginal is the closest thing you can get to an IV if you can't get access to an IV. But men can't do it because they don't have a vag. So rectal is the second best way to get it in. But just going through the skin and the pores, in the bag, people just get down, take their clothes off except for like the bra and panties, get in there, and it goes right through the skin and just, and if you can get sauna first, ozone second, and then hyperbaric after. Woo.
Okay. All right.
Sauna will like completely detox you and your sweat. Drink a bunch of water, go get ozone, turn off the ATP, really get the cells like going, and then go in hyperbaric where you pressurize that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll be high for a week.
Yeah, Jimmy said I'll pass. He doesn't have a badge, so we can just do the ear thing for you, Jim. That's fine. But yeah, that's okay. You don't have to have a badge to have ozone. Anyway, too much information. How can people find you? And any final words that you have for people who may be struggling and or looking for ways to get support and help. Like, of course, we want everyone to follow her on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. She's on all the platforms, and your new podcast. Talk about your
Yeah, so I kind of had a hiatus because, in the last week I wrecked my car, lost my cousin. So I've had a lot going on. But yes, I have a podcast called Unveiling Addiction, where I would like to create, or I am in the process of creating and building a big platform to shine awareness on addiction and helping shape the perspective of addiction. There's too much judgment around it. And I do believe that's just programming that we need to just kind of free ourselves of. But it's called Unveiling Addiction. I'll be starting back up very soon. I have a couple of guests, an addiction doctor coming on next month in July. I have a few guests already lined up. So, but yeah, that's about it. I'm going to be on another podcast too, called Two Addicts and a Moron. I'm really looking forward to that. That's actually going to be later today. So I'm going to be getting I'm going to be sharing some stuff that it'll be entertaining to say the least. So I'll keep y'all posted on that one.
Awesome. And I actually, I'll talk to you privately, but I had given your name to a few other podcasts too that I'm hoping you'll get some more exposure, because I really think talking about these things is a big, important thing. It's like, if you can talk about it then and make it not so abnormal and not so like scary, that takes away a lot of the power, It's like once you come out, it's like, wow, there's no fear anymore. It's everybody knows. So the truth is empowering, just to be honest, right?
I've noticed that I've noticed that, like, I went and got a coffee. She's talking to me about her mother and how her mother was an addict. I noticed that people are talking to me now and are opening up about it. And I was like, oh, we're healing. We're healing as a planet. Yes. So,
yes.
Yeah.
If you can, what is it? If you can something, what is it? If you could, what is it? You could steal it, you could heal it, or if you, more ozone. Don't steal it. Don't steal it. Anyway, everyone's saying thank you. Thank you. Nice live. Jimmy still says I pass. We love you, Jim.
Yes.
You guys, I hope you have a really great podcast when this next one coming up. And we'd love to have you back again. Craig couldn't be with us, like I said, but I know he wanted to join us. So maybe in the next time we'll have Craig back with us. And thank you, Todd and Lisa and Christine and Amanda and Jimmy. And there's a ton of you guys on here that have been very supportive today. And a lot of you are members. Appreciate all the members here that keep us alive and going. And I hope you guys will check out her podcast and her guests that are coming up, and do follow her on social media, and then give this a like, share it. The more people that are familiar and able to hear some of this stuff, maybe that would give them the courage to make some new changes in their own life. And everything's an inside job, and the more we work on our inner, like Chasity has so bravely done, she's really taking time to meditate and look at herself and get down to the root issues of things so she could be her best self and live her magnified purpose. We all have individual calls that are very different than mine and hers. And all of you are doing your thing, whatever that is, then this world would be a great place. And let's just all do it together. Thanks for being with us today.
May I just share one thing really quick? So if you stay true to you and you really dig deep and you do find you, let me just tell you this, Dr. Sharnael, you were one of the first podcasts that I had come across whenever I had my awakening. I watched you and Craig and Laura religiously. And I mean, I cracked wide open. So for it's going to make me emotional. So for me to be sitting here with you today is like that. I mean, that's the universe really, because I stayed true to me and healed. And so I just feel like that was the universe kind of taking care of me. So I appreciate having me on.
Well, you are a very, very bright light. And I started seeing your funnies on TikTok and stuff when I was having a bad time. And I was just like, oh my God, this girl puts a smile on my face every freaking day. And I would get to where I would wake up and see, what are you doing today? What are you doing today?
Yes.
It just cracked me up. And then I started making comments and saying, like, you are so awesome. I just love your energy. I love your vibe. You're making the world better. And so I appreciate you more than you could ever know. And so that goes both ways. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Lisa. We're going to have you on too. I love you so much. And yes, this will be on YouTube. You guys can watch it. Someone's asking if they missed the beginning, if they could watch it. Go to my YouTube channel. Please share. Please like. Be a partner if you can. Go to drsharnael.com. Check out some of my books and all the stuff and all the things. And, get workshops and all the things that I always forget to talk about because I'm like so in it. But love you guys. See you. And thanks again, Chas. See you soon. I'll be watching you, and we're all watching you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.